My name is Hannah, and this is my beauty budget. Hey y'all, so I'm a little bit late filming my monthly check-in this month. This is the check-in about the month of August, and the end of my month, the end of August, just got super topsy-turvy for reasons that I'm actually going to explain in the meat of the video because it's one of the things I have on my little list of topics on which to check in, my little list of notes on which I will extemporize in the video. Basically, you know, my check-in is what it always is. I'm going to talk about August. I'm going to try to touch base specifically on how it was to be on a budget in the month of August, how my budget affected my life and my shopping habits, and how my thinking has affected my practice of budgeting. And I'm also going to just touch base, as I said, a little bit about how my life has been going, how my channel has been going, all of that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get right into the meat of the video. Okay, so the first thing that I have written on my list of topics, it just says lots of travel and work. And the travel part is what I wanted to check in about. I went on an extremely last minute and as such kind of a harebrained trip to the East Coast just this past weekend, which is something that I really never do, even though my whole family lives there. It's such a long way away, the tickets tend to be so expensive, and my life is so busy and I don't have a normal job, so I'm not someone who can, you know, take vacation days and schedule a vacation and get someone to cover my emails or something and just go away for 5 days. Everything that I do, my clothing business, YouTube, all of that stuff, it really depends on me continuing to produce my work consistently. And so, for example, in order to take a week off of my work sewing clothing, I have to sew 2 weeks worth of clothing leading up to that week. I have to have that week's production finished. So it puts a lot of pressure on the preceding weeks, so to speak, if I take time off. And for that reason, I rarely do it. And for all of those reasons, I rarely just pick up and visit my family. But I decided to do it last weekend, and I actually vlogged the trip. So a vlog is forthcoming. The thing that will make this vlog interesting to some of you is that it's kind of a window into where I come from. Because here's what happened. I'm already getting way off track just telling you to watch the vlog and not even telling you what I'm supposed to be telling you in the check-in. Here's what happened. My parents live in North Carolina in the mountains in a community of like-minded friends. They haven't lived there their whole lives. Like I didn't live there my whole life, although I was born there. And also my parents are no longer married. They just both happen to live in this community and they share a lot of friends and they're still friends with each other. So 2 of their dearest friends decided to renew their wedding vows, and the ceremony was this past weekend. And my sister and I just really, really wanted to go, but we kind of lost track of when it was happening. And when we finally realized last weekend, I guess it will be now 2 weekends ago, we finally realized that it was the following weekend. We got on the phone and we were like, do you think we could possibly make it work? It started out as a pipe dream, but then I started checking flights and Ellie started kind of looking at her schedule, and really just a couple of days before the event, we decided to do it. So I flew to Washington, D.C. where Ellie lives, and then we drove down together to North Carolina and we showed up completely unannounced at this event. We surprised everyone, our parents, our dear friend, I mean, our parents' dear friends who are also our dear friends. We've known our whole lives. Part of the fun of the vlog is that I managed to capture, at least I think I definitely captured when my mom saw us for the first time.
Surprise!
And also our dear friend Marnie, who is one of the couple who was renewing their wedding vows, that we were able to capture her reaction when she first saw us.
What are you doing here?
It's just really fun. I'm editing the vlog right now. It's very silly. And it's just, you know, my parents are not even ex-hippies, they're like still hippies, sort of. So the community in which my parents live, which is, you know, in most ways, in all sort of meaningful ways, the loam from which I sprung and from which my sister sprung, it's just non-traditional, I guess is what you would say. And the ceremony, the wedding ceremony, it was a Quaker ceremony. It was very simple and totally unfancy. And the whole thing was not weird to me because it's where I come from, but it's something that it's kind of hard to describe. You have to see it. And so that was why I tried to vlog it. And I think it will be interesting to some of you to watch it and kind of to get kind of a complete and in some ways more sensory understanding of where I come from than you can get when you just see me up here talking about it. It buoyed me spiritually and emotionally, like in all of these super important deep ways. It was the best thing that I could have done. But physically, it kind of destroyed me because I was jet lagged the whole time I was there, and then I was jet lagged when I got back. And at this point, it's been over a week of just constantly feeling that feeling. When I wake up, I feel that feeling like my body's full of sand. I decided to do this crazy thing without worrying too much about it, which is a good thing for me. This is a good thing. And now we're kind of getting into the meat of the meat a little bit. The month has been really interesting in a way that is a continuation of last month's check-in about letting myself be free to make purchases in a way that's less stressful. Also a continuation of the video that I posted this month about how my no by year changed my life. I finally got it together to film that video that I knew was coming, but it just wasn't time, and then suddenly it was time. So I talked in that video about the letting go of the fantasy self and the relaxation into what I have and into the life I have. So I've been processing that. I've been talking about it. I finally got the guts to share it with you. And I've been talking about it with my therapist. I've been talking about it a little bit. I got to talk about it a little bit with my sister because it's just finally sort of settling enough to clarify. And to me, what that means is that once it started to make it through to my actual prefrontal cortex, now that it's actually part of my conscious mind, now I see from where I have come, like I see what I went through. So what do I do with that now? Like what's next, And I think that what's been next, the very first little inch of the next step of the journey, has had to do with, and it's weird that I'm going to say this because I've said this so many times on my channel. So the easy way to say it is letting go of perfectionism even more. And I am aware that I made like a whole video about letting go of perfectionism in the middle of my no by year. I was like, I'm learning how to let go of perfectionism. I keep talking about it. I keep saying it. And so it's funny to say again, like to have put on my little short list of things to talk about for this check-in, letting go of perfectionism, because I talk about it all the time. And, it's like I've already done it on my channel, right? Like I've already let go. It's like, oh, Hannah, you've already let go of perfectionism. Like that was the thing that you achieved partway through your no by year. And then it's like, and then that was the thing you achieved at the end of your no by year. And then that was the thing you achieved by budgeting, But what I wrote was that I've been doubling down on letting go of perfectionism, ironically, because I feel like doubling down is kind of a perfectionist phrase, kind of perfectionist instinct. What I mean is that new vistas are beginning to open for me in terms of that kind of letting go. And I'm really noticing it in the moment by moment. And again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's new to me this month. I'll try to figure out some way to articulate the way in which it's been new this month. Or maybe it's just been that it's something I've been trying to do, and this month I've succeeded more than before. It's that thing of punishing oneself in the moment. That when I wake up every morning, I have this idea of how the day is going to go. And these ideas of what make me healthy, the things that make me healthy. So the tiniest example is I wake up in the morning and I get out of bed, I get a little bit of coffee, and then I choose what I'm going to do next. And there's sort of a spectrum of things that I could do. One thing that I could do is that I could get right into the day. So I could kind of rinse my face, put on some makeup, get my clothes on, and then like go to work. I could be out the door in half an hour, have a few eggs, out the door in half an hour, either at the coffee shop writing or at the studio working. And sometimes I even manage not to look at my computer before I get to work. I wake up and I'm like, I'm feeling like fire today. I'm going to be so healthy. I'm going to be really driven and focused, and I'm going to treat myself well. So I keep my computer closed. I just put it in my bag. I like stretch and get out the door and I have my coffee and I'm like Mr. Rogers, I'm just like, I'm so good at living my best life and self-control and habits and routine and all this stuff, and I feel smug and proud. And it is true to me that it is true that not getting right into my comments right when I wake up or not checking my email right when I wake up, that's something that I know is healthy for me. I know that it's good to do that. But what I tend to do, and I think a lot of you understand this and do something similar, is I take that knowledge that it's a healthy choice to not open my computer right when I wake up, and I use that as a kind of way of defining whether I'm succeeding at life or not. And I kind of wield it against myself. So some mornings I have to check my email right away or have to open my computer right away because I'm expecting an email, or if I have to send out the email about the Poema sale, I frequently sort of open it just to check and make sure that the video went up in the middle of the night that was supposed to go up. Sometimes the schedule is such that I'm going to be at home for a while before I head out, and so I just get to work right away. And sometimes I just feel like it. Sometimes I feel slow or sluggish in the morning. I'm waking up slowly. Sometimes I feel depressed. Sometimes I feel gross in my body and I don't feel like getting out of my pajamas right away. I don't feel like putting on clothes. And so there are so many days on which I fail at that little measure of health, which is leaving the computer closed until I get to work. Because I've established it in my mind as a thing that is a hallmark of health, as soon as I fail at it, as soon as I do the other thing, as soon as I start checking my comments with that cup of coffee in hand in my reading chair right here, instead of skipping straight to getting dressed and heading out the door, I define the day as subpar. I'm like, I already failed. I already am not doing my best. I'm already not taking extra good care of myself. 1 point against the day I could have had, or like the person I've sometimes been in the past. So it's that little moment where I register it as a failure, where I feel bad, where I kind of carry this weight, because that's kind of the best way to talk about it. It's like a little weight drops into my stomach because I didn't do the best thing. And then I carry that little weight around with me all day, like this heavy little stone. And the thing about the computer, looking at the computer first thing in the morning, that's just one example of myriad things that I have chosen to stack myself up against. All of these ways in which I measure my quality as a person, my success as a person. There are so many of them. There's everything from the superficial things like, how does my makeup look today? Or like do I like my outfit? Did I get it together? How am I feeling today in my body? Like, am I feeling good? Do I feel energy? So if I feel low energy, sometimes I'm like, well, it's my fault because I had a glass of wine last night, or it's my fault because I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm constantly sort of checking all of these little boxes or not checking all of these little boxes. And every little box that doesn't get checked is another little weight in my stomach, another little stone that drops in, and I carry them all around kind of feeling kind of heavy and icky. So the thing that I've been doing this month that I think that I could never have known enough about myself to start doing if I hadn't gone through the No by Year and everything that followed and everything that I discussed, and if I hadn't gone through processing that information in the way that I did during part of this month. The thing that I've found myself able to do is to not drop that little stone in. It's like this constant act of gentleness and forgiveness. Or another way to say it is constantly reminding myself that the thing that I perceive myself as having failed at is very, very, very small and it doesn't have implications beyond itself, even though I'm so in the habit of feeling as though it does and acting as though it does. So to go back to our original example about looking at the computer first thing in the morning, I wake up, I get a little coffee, sit down and open the computer, and then I have that moment where I'm like, oh, I've failed to do my best. And then this month, I've been like, no, it's fine. It's different. If I hadn't looked at the computer, then I wouldn't be looking at the computer right now. I would be at work earlier. I might get more done today. I might feel more energized. I might feel a little bit less dragged down by negative comments first thing in the morning, right? There are all of these little bits of fallout that would be true if I had made it over there. But let's let those be the only implications of this choice. This is what I've been telling myself lately. Let's let the actual repercussions of this choice be the only repercussions of this choice, rather than adding a whole other huge, heavy repercussion, which is my bad feelings about the choice. So it used to be that I would make a choice and then there would be all of its repercussions, most of which would be very, very small. And then there would be this huge, heavy repercussion, that stone in my stomach. Why? Why add this extra thing? Why? So this month, for the first time, or again, maybe because I know I've referenced things like this before, so I think that the thing that I really mean is that this month I've been more successful than ever before at actually not dropping the stone in. It's like a constant mindfulness practice, and again, like I said, a constant practice of forgiving myself, literally removing the stone and casting it away. Sometimes I'm still making good choices sometimes. It's not like I've had a month of just doing all of the, laziest habits or, not being on top of it at all. Although it has been a bit of a crazy month. And so I have dropped the ball in certain things like exercise. Certain elements of like the clean eating that I try to do have fallen by the wayside. So it has been a month that's given me a lot of opportunity to forgive myself, a lot of opportunity to let the actual repercussions of every choice I make be the only repercussions. And I know what those repercussions are. So I'm not saying, and I talked about this a couple of check-ins ago, I think, maybe it was even my last check-in, about how being kind to yourself, not being hard on yourself doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook for following your rules. In that same way, not putting extra stones in my stomach to carry them around, not punishing myself additionally for all of the small choices that I make, that doesn't mean that I'm just letting myself off the hook for trying to make good choices. Not at all. It's just that I'm letting go of this idea that there's one perfect way to have my day. There's one perfect way to be Hannah. There's one way in which everything would ideally unfold. And every single day on which each one of those checkboxes for good, perfect Hannah behavior doesn't get checked, every single day on which that doesn't happen is sort of a failed day or a subpar day. It's letting go of that I've been doing, because that's ridiculous. There is no day on which all of those checkboxes get checked. There just isn't. So I don't want to continue living my whole life every day feeling like I could have done better, and then my whole life will just pass by and I'll feel that way every day, and then that'll just be the way that I spent my life feeling. I don't want that to happen, because this is my life. My life is that I have all of these check boxes that I would like to be checking most days, and every single day they don't all get checked. That's my life. That's life. So if I choose to feel bad about that, then I'm choosing to feel bad about my life for my whole life. And this month, it was like I washed my hands of that once and for all. But it's taken practice. I realized that I was doing it. I realized that I wanted to wash my hands of it once and for all. And then I started practicing not adding extra weight and extra bad feeling to every choice that I make by feeling bad about that choice. I just started to practice it. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm not instinctively calling myself a failure for little things, but I have gotten to the point that when I do it, I can catch myself doing it most of the time and just be like, we're not doing that anymore. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes like half a day. And then I realize I've been carrying around that stone in my stomach. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been feeling bad half of the day because of this thing I did this morning or didn't do. And I decided to feel guilty about it or feel a sense of foreboding about it or whatever. And then I just say, but we're not doing that anymore. And I kind of like release the weight. Just this month, for the first time in my whole 34-year life, I'm actually able to because I've been talking to myself about it and talking to you guys about it and processing this process, I feel like I have a little bit of a new power at my fingertips when it comes to continuing what has turned out to be a long and protracted process of loosening my vice grip on myself, being myself, being functional, being okay with the fact that I'm fallible and I'm human and that this is what life is. So the next thing that I have on my list to talk about is that in addition to doubling down on letting go of perfection, I have doubled down, we're getting into the shopping stuff now, on fewer, nicer things in a major way. In a major way. And I don't want to spoil what I guess would be the review. Well, it might get spoiled. I'm not going to worry too much about it because it's not like I'm ever at a loss for things to say. So what I was about to say is I don't want to spoil the video at the end of September in which I talk about what I purchased in the month of September. When that video comes along, I'm sure I'll have more to say on the topic, basically. And it seems silly to wait a whole month to tell you what happened, because here's what happened. I purchased a handful of things towards the beginning of August, and I'll talk about that in a video that I'm going to film very soon about what I purchased in August. That video always comes close on the heels of this video, so you can expect it within a week. So you'll find out exactly what I bought in August. I spent about half of the budget that I had. And then I started thinking more about how I want to spend my budget. And I think that talking about the things that, ranking everything I bought, which is something I did within the past couple of months, ranking everything that I bought so far, talking about how my no-buy year changed my life, and trying to organize my thoughts around how my no-buy year changed my relationship with stuff, that fed into it a lot. And a couple of other things. I just have been thinking a lot about using my budget more strategically and taking a step back and taking a deep breath and just maybe deliberately doing something a little bit different than what I have been doing. It's been long enough, more than halfway through the year of budgeting, that I've started to feel like I'm ready to kind of take what I've learned from the year of budgeting and mobilize it. I started thinking about how, I think I was looking back at some of my old Instagram pictures and I thought about how happy it made me to be able to wear those dramatic and beautiful clothes that I was able to rent with my 1-month subscription to Rent the Runway, which I had in January. It was a Christmas gift for my parents. Each one of them had this incredibly dramatic flair, like all, floral rosette sequins or like huge shoulder pads or wild print or something. They suited me, I feel. I loved them. I loved wearing every single thing that I rented. And also they were very, very editorial, kind of the direction in which some of my makeup preferences are moving. The Cleona shadows are a great example, and I've got such a good video coming up about those shadows, you guys. I filmed an overhead shot video in which I deeply examined every single one of the shadows that Leah and Maggie sent me, and I swatched them next to everything I have in my collection that's even remotely like them. And I gave really, really thorough, in-depth reviews about all 3 formulas that I have. Just so you know, that's coming soon, probably this very weekend that'll be up. So keep an eye out for that one. But, I've been thinking about my love of beauty, my love of beautiful things, the things that I love and why, what brings me the most joy, as opposed to the things that I think will but won't. I've just been thinking a lot. It's like I've given myself space to really think about that and to make decisions with that information in my corner. In essence, I was like, I want to buy clothes that are sort of the closet equivalent of those Cleona shadows. Extremely fine and elaborate and unique, and it's okay if they're expensive because I want fewer, nicer things. And I'm perfectly happy spending a lot on one perfect thing that really makes me feel the feelings, that's really me, instead of just collecting a bunch of stuff, because I don't have room for that in my home or in my heart. So I started looking around partway through August for something, for a garment. And I was like, it's okay if it's expensive. I was looking secondhand. So I was looking on Poshmark and eBay. And it was so fun. It was so fun to sort of raise my budget in my mind. Because the idea was like, what if I spent my whole budget? What if I spent like $200 on just one thing? What would it look like? Like, what would it have to be? I was like, let's put my money where my mouth is in terms of fewer, nicer things. So, semi-spoiler alert, I won't show you the garment. It did arrive today in the mail and I lost my mind. So here's what happened. I found something. I found a garment that I wanted to buy that cost more than $200. It's a designer piece, so I was purchasing it from someone who had purchased it new and worn it, but it's in impeccable condition, and she was reselling it at probably roughly a half to a third of the sale, of the price of it, like of how much it cost. And it arrived today, and it's like, it's everything I ever dreamed. I mean, I'm literally floating on a cloud. But I've spent my whole September budget and a bit of what I had retained from August on one thing. It's the best choice I've ever made in my whole life. No, just kidding. It's the best choice I've made all year in terms of my budget. It's just the best. I'm so happy. Here's the thing. I'm sure that I won't be able to keep from wearing it on camera before the end of September reveal. Like, there's no way. I almost wore it today, and then I was like, I don't have it in me. You're gonna know, like, you'll know as soon as some video is gonna come up in your feed in the next week or two, and as soon as you click on it and you see me in it, you're gonna be like, that must be the editorial. Let's just say it's a top. Let's just say it's got some editorial ruffles. And I'm in love, and I'm very gratified that budgeting and thinking about budgeting has brought me to this point. It's the kind of thing that I might have convinced myself to buy in my past life before my no-buy year, just because I'm such a sucker for beautiful things. And when I saw it online partway through August, it clenched my heart. I was like, that's so me, and that's something that I would love and wear forever. And it's perfect in every way. And I'll go through the details of why it's perfect in the video at the end of September. So there's more to come about this particular piece of clothing, lots more about why I chose to buy it, why I chose it and stuff. So it's something I might have done in the past, but then I would have felt really bad about it. Because it was so much money. I would have felt like it was unwise. I would have felt like it was above my pay grade. I would have felt bad about it for my whole life. But I don't feel bad about this. I feel proud that I saved the budget and I saved the money, and I made the choice to buy it instead of a collection of less expensive and less nice and less perfect things. So that's, without getting too specific and without spoiling the surprise, that's kind of, because it was my September budget, I had to wait until September. I didn't, even though I had saved $100, almost $100 of my August budget when I started thinking about this purchase, I didn't have enough to buy it until September. So as soon as, I think I bought it on the 1st or the 2nd of the month, and it just arrived in the mail today. I am not totally surprised that budgeting brought me here, but as the months sort of wore on towards the beginning of this year, I think I had many months where I doubted that it would happen, because it was so hard to not just rush out and buy like a bunch of drugstore lipsticks or a bunch of little things that they did earlier in the year. You can clearly see the trend as the year has worn on. I've pretty much bought fewer and fewer things each month. And I do have one last little thing that I want to stick into this video. I have a good friend who has done something amazing. He has designed and is producing, or I guess he sold a board game, like a really, really good, what are they called? What are those board games called? Like Settlers of Catan and Puerto Rico. What's that kind of board game called? I just looked it up online, and all that he has said, all that the copy says about the game is that it's a competitive worker placement and tower defense game. That's not the phrasing that I was looking for, but you know what I mean. It's like a game. It's a strategy game. Maybe that's the word that I was looking for. It might be time for me to end this video if I couldn't think of the phrase strategy game. But you know, it's cool. It's like a board game where you build stuff and then you place little workers, and it's all about industry and rebuilding and, you know, competing with other players in this little empire that's evolving on the board. And he's been working on it for years with a friend, and it's his dream, and they're genius at it. I mean, they're really, really, really good. And I think that the way that it works is that they've sold it, but the company that they sold it to is running a Kickstarter to generate interest to produce the game. And the more interest they get, the more backers that they get, the better quality the game will be able to be. So they'll be able to, like, get thicker cardstock for the cards or whatever. So I'm going to link it down below because I'm really excited about it. And I know that there are some of you out there who love strategy, like multiplayer strategy board games. If you love Settlers of Catan, if you love, what's that train one? Ticket to Ride. If you love that kind of game and you're curious about a new one that's like that, that promises to be amazing, you should check out Evan's game. It's called After the Empire. All right, I just got distracted for like 5 minutes looking at the Kickstarter page for After the Empire and reading about the game. I think it's time for me to check out of this video, but it looks so cool. I'm gonna put like a picture really quick up on the screen of the game board and like the gameplay pieces. It just looks like it promises to be as amazing as I've always assumed that it's going to be all of these years as Evan has been developing it and telling me about it. That is it. That's my check-in. Went on a crazy trip to North Carolina, made a vlog. It's upcoming. It's going to be awesome. Being kinder to myself, doubling down on fewer, nicer things, and excited about After the Empire, the new board game. Nailed it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself this week. Oh gosh, that reminds me of one thing I forgot to follow up on, which is that I'm always telling myself that I need to like do better and check all of the boxes in order to take extra good care of myself. It's like a way I've been tricking myself into being extra perfectionist. I've been like, taking extra good care of myself means that I don't fail at all of my measures of health. And this month I've redefined it for myself. I've redefined taking extra good care of myself as actually being kind, even as I do my best and fail a little bit. So my own sign off has a new meaning to me, which is why it makes sense that I'm only thinking to say it now at the end of the video. I hope that that's something that can maybe enter some of your lives too, and enter your understanding of what I mean in the sign off going forward. So let's try it again. Thank you for watching. And let's all remember what it really means to take extra good care of ourselves this week going forward, because that is what will make us the most effective versions of ourselves as we do our work in the world.